We finally have an update on what's going on with the new Subaru WRX STI. So last week, drive.com.au published some quotes from their interview they did at the 2025 Tokyo Motor Show just a couple of weeks ago with Subaru's product general manager. And he revealed to them that Subaru still isn't ready to make a decision about the STI after all these years. It's been 4+ years now we haven't had an STI and they still can't figure out what to do with it. So here's one of the first quotes he said. He said, "We want to offer the choice. That's the reason we showcase two concepts, one as an internal combustion engine and one as a battery electric vehicle." So the concepts he's referring to are the STI Performance B and STI Performance E concepts, which were, the electric and gas one. You can figure out which one is which there. It was very exciting. They showed both of those. And, that's the stuff that he's referring to here. And so he continued by saying, "Of course, we are developing BEVs to achieve carbon neutrality, but on the other side, there's the customer who chooses this car, the Performance B, so we want to make the option available to the consumer, so that's why we made the car with the engine as well." And so this makes complete sense, but here's the curveball. So he said that this is the first time we have shown it to the public, so maybe we want to know about what consumers think. Maybe we get the feedback from the consumers, then we will think about production versions. So, first, clearly neither of these are happening anytime soon if they're only going to begin to think about production versions of these after they've collected all the feedback from Tokyo, which just ended a couple of weeks ago. Then they will think about it. So way far down the road, this is a slow moving train. Don't expect anything tomorrow or next year even. Anyway, the other thing though is that, because of how slowly this train is rolling, it's clear that the Impreza that the Performance B is based on, or the Performance, B is based on, that is going to, not be getting a refresh anytime soon. So Impreza, it just came out for the 2024 model year, but don't expect any kind of refresh or anything because that Performance B concept is exactly Impreza for the back end. The front end's all WRX pretty much, but don't expect anything new there because if that's going to be the basis, you're going to have those components that will have to still be around in a couple of years if they get around to finally building this thing and decide that that's what they want to do. And also same thing goes for the WRX. If this has WRX headlights that are already 4 years old, don't expect any changes there. If this is, again, a future concept that they still haven't figured out if they're going to build or not, it's going to be a while. So don't, hold out for any kind of refresh for the WRX or, for the Impreza. And WRX is down badly in sales this year. So another good reason to not wait. If you want a WRX, get one now. You'll probably get a great deal because they're not selling a whole lot of them these days, sadly. Anyway, second, my one other question from these quotes is why can't they do both? The gas one, again, clearly looks production ready, basically. It's based on the Impreza. It's going to be using all off-the-shelf parts and, stuff that can be put into production pretty cheaply, pretty quickly, and pretty easily. And so, I'm not sure why it would be so hard. And maybe there's other stuff, I'm ignorant to, but just doesn't seem like a heavy lift there. Again, because they have so many parts on the shelf already. And for the electric one, we already have the Trail Seeker EV that's coming early next year that already does 375 horsepower from two electric motors there. And, that's literally coming out in just a couple of months. It will be in showrooms. You got that stuff there. 375 horsepower would probably be enough, even in an EV. And it doesn't have to be some type of Hyundai Ioniq 5N competitor. Now, that would be awesome, and I would welcome that as well if they want to go bonkers with 600 plus horsepower or whatever. But 375 keeps it nice and affordable, and can, just be a nice alternative that, still comes in at a reasonable price point for people who, want to make the leap from the gas to the EV. So, and that all should speed up development time on that end because, again, that stuff is already on the shelf. Once again, obviously with that, you'd probably need to do a little more tuning to make it, feel sportier than a Trail Seeker. And, it'd be fun to have, kind of shift sounds that are simulated, all the fun things Ioniq 5N has. But assuming they didn't do any of that stuff, it would be pretty quick, especially in that regard, to put those out there. But I think, having both would be very important. I think there's a different market for each of those. I think there are certainly people who maybe are ready for that EV version already, and they want something different, and they want that fast 0 to 60 time, and they want, the instant electric power and all the other perks that come with an EV. But there's obviously a large group of people that just would love to have a new gas one. And I think those two people, could overlap. There's some overlap there for sure, but I think that those are separate markets, and you could make a business case for both of them to be sold alongside each other, in my opinion. So I don't think it has to be this false choice unless they just don't have the development manpower to do both. But I mean, I'm assuming the EV one would come after the gas one anyway, so lead with the gas, come out with the EV a couple years later. I don't think that would be insanely hard, but again, I don't know the day-to-day operations and what they have at their disposal, so again, I am ignorant there for sure. But just seems like Subaru isn't that small of a company, and again, with the partnership with Toyota for the EV stuff, it's not like they're doing it completely alone either. So, and then you could even have Toyota get a version of that if you chose to do that too, if they wanted to partner up. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But, I don't think that, you need to have this be a this or that decision, in my opinion, at least. And third, if there must be a choice between the gas or electric one, I'm not sure why there should be any ambiguity here or confusion as far as which is the better one. Anyone who has their finger on the pulse of enthusiasts should know very clearly the gas version is the way to go if you have to pick between one or the other. From a business case standpoint, obviously the gas one is the better way to go. Now, maybe in like the EU, if they don't want to make an engine that complies with the new emissions regulations and stuff, then maybe that's where the EV one comes in, and you have, that for them in particular, but, sell it elsewhere as well. But, certainly for the North American market, and I think for the Japanese market as well, the gas one is clearly the way to go. So, I don't know if they're expecting to be surprised or if they're hoping for consumer demand and feedback to be different than what they are already assuming, or if they just don't want to make assumptions. They want to give a long period of people saying, yes, this is what we want again, for that to sell them on the idea of bringing that, gas one back. I don't know, but it just, ever since they got rid of the STI in 2021, they've had everyone loudly complaining that they want another gas STI again, just any STI in particular. But I mean, just the gas one obviously is certainly, again, the safer way to go about this if you're going to bring it back. So, it's kind of, that was the weirdest thing. Like, I read these quotes and I'm like, what do they need help with? Like, why do they need enthusiasts to demand it more, to, push them more, whenever all of us, myself and many of you, we all have been begging for this and, making videos about it, posts, Reddit posts, whatever the case might be. Like, if they haven't gotten the message, if it's not clear to them yet, I will spell it out once again. Do a new STI. You build it, they will come. Like, I don't know if they're overthinking this or overcomplicating things for some reason, or getting in their own heads, or what the deal is, but like, there's a lot of things in life that are ambiguous that, it's hard to make a decision about. This is not one of those things. so I don't know, and it's just, again, it's easy. Take all the WXTS stuff, pick whatever Subaru gas engine you want, upgrade it to handle extra power, get the tune to be over 300 horsepower, and everyone's going to be happy. Make it look like the concept there, for the most part, put those body panels into production, and that's it. And I know, there's red tape and, hoops to jump through and everything else. So it's a little harder than that. It's not something that can be done in a day, but, the demand is clear. The path seems to be pretty easy, and, it's all right there on a silver platter for them, in my opinion. And I don't know how much more of a push and how much easier it needs to be for them to finally make the leap. To say they're being super conservative and careful with this is an understatement. And again, it makes me just wonder if there's got to be something else going on behind the scenes that is causing this doubt or this trepidation over this decision and what to do here, and why they don't have a clear direction and leadership as far as like, this is what we need to do. And I'll be the dumb American in the room to say, this is the way you guys should go, in case this is, confusing. I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, but this is another one of these rants that just gets me fired up, because it's like, I don't know. It's something I just do not understand why it's so hard. It's, I get the work that goes into it, but as far as the decision making, and Subaru North America, they know this too. They've heard all of us journalists, all of us fans, all the buyers at dealers, all of us have contributed. So to say that they haven't gotten enough feedback to make a decision yet is just, they're not listening. If they have not got the message, they're just simply not listening, and that's on them, not on us. And so, I'm happy to give more feedback, as I'm sure many of you are as well. Go and make your voices heard once again. And maybe they needed actual people in Tokyo at the auto show stand to tell them to their face. I don't know. Hopefully many people did there too. But it's just mind blowing to me that this is still unclear to them what the right path forward is for this, at least as far as consumer demand goes. Again, economics and all the other things behind the scenes. Sure, I don't have the data there to say authoritatively what the right move is, but demand, there's no question. So anyway, that's about it. I will digress here, but there is the status on the new STI. It's going to be a while if it even happens. And so unless they're bluffing, don't expect anything new anytime soon. And certainly, again, make sure you're not waiting for a new WRX, because that doesn't sound like that's happening anytime soon. Same thing with their Impreza refresh, anything like that. Because these futuristic concepts are using headlights that are 4 years old. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Thank you all very much for tuning in for another rant. Be sure to subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and take care.